Welcome to US Movie Reruns. The title of this movie is Jingle All the Way. Remember to subscribe for more movie recap. Caution: spoilers ahead. Jingle All the Way is a 1996 American Christmas family comedy film directed by Brian Levant, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as Howard and Sinbad as Miron. This film has the two rival fathers going head-to-head for most of the film. The film opens with a classic American hero called Turbo Man fighting off his evil nemesis with his trusty sidekick Booster. His nemesis captured a little boy named Billy and disappears in a cloud of smoke, and Turbo Man stops his aircraft from taking off. Suddenly, a lady screaming, signaling Turbo Man of the villain location. We see the villain has Billy hanging over a precipice. Turbo Man says his catchphrase, "It's Turbo time," and flies in to save Billy from certain doom. We then realize that Howard's son, Jamie, was watching a movie on his TV at home. Turbo Man saves Billy and returns him to his father. Jamie's mom came and told him to change because they have to leave. Jamie was waiting on his dad because they were waiting to go to his karate exhibition. Jamie exclaims that he misses everything. The scene changes and at Howard's office appears to be a party. The scene was festive, with Christmas carols and conga lines. However, Howard was working, but his secretary came to remind him of Jamie's karate exhibition, to which he states that he is going to make it on time, and he kept on working. All his customers were told that they were his number one customer. Then his wife Liz called also to remind him of the karate exhibition. Before hanging up, he accidentally told his wife she was his number one customer. Then he hurried out of the office, repeating to himself that he is going to make it on time. But his secretary disagrees unknowingly. He drives out in a rush, only to encounter a massive traffic pileup. Meanwhile, Jamie's karate exhibition was underway. The students walk out, and Howard's neighbor Ted sat beside Liz and waves to his son Johnny. Ted admires the children, and Liz agrees that they're adorable. The exhibition started, and during this time, the female parents kept on flirting with Ted, much to Liz's disgust. Back in traffic, Howard decides to take the soft shoulder. However, after a few meters down the road, a motorcycle police siren comes on and the police chases Howard, stopping him and requesting his documents. Howard outlined the urgency of his situation, but Officer Hummel instructed him to step out of the vehicle. Back at the exhibition, the children were doing great. Ted's son got a purple belt. Meanwhile, Howard was walking a straight line after that. The officer instructed him to recite the alphabets as he stated. The Officer Hummel stated he should do so in reverse. Jamie was up and he broke his box, revealing his purple belt as Liz cheered and whistled. But Jamie was disappointed and looked towards the door for his dad. But Howard didn't show up. Later that evening, Howard showed up to an empty auditorium. Only the janitor that was cleaning. He didn't make it. Howard went home where he was greeted by Ted, who was on his roof installing Christmas lights since Howard had not installed any. Howard went inside to his wife Liz in the kitchen. Howard told her about the ticket he got. Liz told her to explain to Jamie. Howard went into the next room where Jamie was watching Turbo Man on TV and refused to greet him. He tried to speak to Jamie, but Jamie ran to his room, not listening to his dad. Howard enters the room and uses Jamie's purple belt playfully. Jamie ignores him and goes to complete his drawing. Howard realizes he just needed to be real with Jamie. They had a discussion about the belts, and Howard admits his fault and apologizes to Jamie. Jamie excitedly told his dad he can make it up by getting him the new Turbo Man action figure. Jamie told him everyone is getting one, and whoever doesn't will be a real loser. Jamie and Howard hugs, telling each other "I love you" and seals the deal. In Howard's room, Liz asked him if he got the Turbo Man doll. Apparently, Howard was told to get the doll a long time ago but forgot. Howard has not gotten the doll and lies to Liz, telling her he got the doll. Liz was relieved to hear this. That morning, while Jamie and Liz were having breakfast, Howard came downstairs and lies to Liz again, telling her the doll was at the office and he had to go and get it. Liz understood, and he was given a pass. But Jamie reminds him of the Christmas Eve parade as he was about to leave. Jamie informs him Turbo Man will be there this year. Howard promises to be there, and as he leaves he sees Ted with a reindeer that almost mowed Howard down and bite him when he tries to pet it. The reindeer doesn't seem to like Howard. Before leaving, Ted told Howard he got a Turbo Man doll for Johnny months ago, and it is nestled underneath the Christmas tree. The scene changed to the busy city. Some people going about their business, and some people crowded store doorways to do their last-minute Christmas shopping for their family. Howard makes his way to the front of a crowd as the owner waits to open the door. The angry crowd then pushes him to the back. There, he met Myron, who lobbies on his behalf and gives him a cut. Myron was a mailman, and he kept on rant about Christmas letter keeping him busy, and he was unable to buy a Turbo Man doll for his son. Howard tells him that he is also in search of a Turbo Man doll. Myron rants about a ploy by the rich and powerful toy cartel who spend billions on advertising to send subliminal messages to suck your children's mind. Howard thinks he is crazy. The door opens shortly afterwards, and the crowd pushes the owner out of the way and trampling him. The crowd dispersed in the store looking for various toys. When Howard and Myron got the Turbo Man section, they realized it was sold out. The entire store began laughing at them when they heard what they were looking for. Howard got upset and grabbed the two laughing store clerks and solicited information about more Turbo Man dolls. The clerks informed them of a woman who just left with one. They gave a description and Howard ran off but was knocked over by Myron. Howard drove a remote-controlled car under Myron's foot, tripping him up. Scattering letters everywhere, Howard then runs by and mocks him. He went outside to a crowded city looking for the woman in a fur coat. He found a woman in a fur coat and paid her 3 times the amount she paid, only to find out it was not a Turbo Man doll, but the Psychic Booster. He eventually found the right lady with the Turbo Man doll, driving away in the back of a car. He spooked the lady, and she left him in the middle of the road empty-handed. He searched near and far, high and low, but none of the stores he went to had a Turbo Man doll. Meanwhile, at home, Johnny and Jamie fight about whose turn it is to be Turbo Man. Ted later appeared as Liz baked Christmas cookies. Ted forces Liz to take a break and awkwardly hugs her to take off her apron. Ted took over the baking, then stylishly went to burn his hands. Shortly afterward, Howard called home and Ted picked up the phone. Ted tells Howard he is helping out Liz in the kitchen as he eats a cookie. Ted refuses to let Howard speak to Liz and hangs up the phone. Shortly after leaving the phone booth, Howard met with Myron, who apologizes for whacking him and suggests they join up as a team. Howard declines the suggestion, but Myron accusing him of racism when a man blurted they had a delivery of Turbo Man at Toyworks. All 3 men jumped in their cars, but when Howard backed away, he knocked over something. He came out of his car to see it was a police motorcycle. As he lifted the motorcycle up, a surprised officer dropped his coffee. We later realized it was none other than Officer Hummels, the same officer who stopped him the night before. Myron drove by and mocked Howard as he sees the situation he was in. The scene changes and Howard makes his way to Toys World just in time for a small gathering. There, the owner confirms that they did receive a small quantity of Turbo Man dolls. Myron was present in the crowd. They were supposed to give out the dolls orderly and select from the balls who will get a doll, but there was chaos brewing, so they threw the balls in the crowd. Balls and people all over the ground, pushing, shoving, crashing, screaming, each individual trying to get one. The balls fell into a little boy's lap and he runs into a play area with the ball. Howard went after him, but hurt himself and got beaten in the head by some ladies and had to leave the ball. He then ran into the mall Santa, who convinced Howard they had a doll with the help of his elf-looking friend. They took Howard to a secret warehouse and charged him a ridiculous price for the doll, but when Howard opened the bag, the doll was a knockoff. Howard got upset and demanded his money back and started to cuss them out. The mall Santa decided to fight and got knocked out with one punch, and was getting beat up before the police busted the doors down and the Santas scattered. Howard had to pretend to be an undercover detective using a toy badge he found. On his way back to the city, his car ran out of gas, and he had to push it to a diner where he called Jamie. Jamie quickly reminded him of his promise to be at the parade. Jamie told his dad he needs to keep his promises and reminds him that he never keeps his promises and hangs up the phone. Again, he runs into Myron at the same diner. An advertisement came on the radio saying that they had a Turbo Man doll for the first caller to name all Santa's reindeer. Both men began to fight and none was able to use the phone to call in. Howard gets to the radio station and forces his way into the radio personality's booth and names the reindeers. Myron thought he had lost and took out a package out of his mailman bag, threatening to blow up the building. The package fell and started to play the Jingle All the Way tune, revealing it was not a bomb. The radio personality then explained that the doll was not at the station. The police sirens then sounded outside and this prevented both men from beating up the radio personality. Once again, Myron betrayed Howard, pushing him into the tapes before leaving the studio. Myron was stopped by the elevator and Howard was stopped by Officer Hummel. Howard was taking to join Myron at the elevator and Myron pulled out another package and pretended it was a bomb. The cops pulled their guns down and both men escaped. After they left, Officer Hummel went to investigate the ramped box. After inspecting it, he ripped to one side and the box exploded in his face. Even Myron and Howard were in disbelief as they ran away. Howard returned to his car. He found it stripped down and get it towed back home. Upon his return, he saw Ted pulling up his star on his Christmas tree, and he got enraged. Just before he barges in with a temper tantrum, he recalls Ted telling him that he got a doll for Johnny months ago. Howard decides to steal the doll. Howard sneaks into the house and took the doll. As he was leaving through the back door, he realized what he was doing is wrong and decides to put it back. Suddenly, the angry reindeer shows up and attacks Howard. Howard ran through the house and the reindeer knocked over everything, eventually starting a fire. Howard desperately tries to put the fire out, but was exposed in the process. Liz told him she was tired of his lies and asked Ted to drive them to the parade and left. The reindeer got loose, and in his rage, Howard gave it one punch, knocking it out. Ted, Johnny, Liz, and Jamie left for the parade. Johnny reminds Jamie Turbo Man is going to be there. Meanwhile, Howard and the reindeer became friends. Howard saw a picture of his family, apparently drawn by Jamie, and decides to go to the parade. The parade was well underway when they arrived. The children left to join the parade, leaving both parents in the van. The two boys join the parade and looks for Turbo Man, but Jamie knows they will save him for last. Meanwhile, Howard was stuck in a cab in traffic again. He pays and gets out. Meanwhile, Ted tries to make advances on Liz, but Howard saw them and runs off enraged, only to collide with Officer Hummel, spilling hot coffee on him. He then runs away to hide. Meanwhile, Liz hits Ted with an igloo and gets out of the van. Meanwhile, Howard is being chased by Officer Hummel. Howard hides in the costume room where they mistook him for the substitute Turbo Man. They dressed him in a hurry without even listening to a word he has to say. Then they sent him on top of the float. He was even surprised to know he was Turbo Man. But he was instructed by Booster to wave. He was given a Turbo Man doll to give away, and he became so overwhelmed that he hugged the toy. He was then cued by Booster to pick a child for the Turbo Man doll, and he chose Jamie from the crowd. Jamie was surprised when he heard his name. Meanwhile, Myron captured the stuntman playing Dementor and changed into his costume. Jamie went for his gift. As Howard was about to give Jamie his gift, Myron jumped on the float from his grappling hook. Myron flipped off the crowd and demanded the doll, but Jamie refused. Jamie then tries to escape, but he was grabbed by Myron. Myron knocks down Howard, but Howard gets up and fires some discs at him. The demon team then attacked, and Jamie ran away but kicked Myron in the testicle in his efforts to escape. Jamie runs in the crowd and goes up a ladder as Myron follows suit, asking him to give up the doll. Meanwhile, Howard got rid of the demon team. At the top of the building, Jamie climbs a perched-up Christmas tree. Turbo Man then flies using his jetpack, but he does not know how. He flies over the city to learn how to control the jetpacks. He tries to grab Jamie, but he misses. Myron climbs the tree to get Jamie, and it breaks, leaving Jamie hanging and Myron still after him. Myron took the doll, but was hit by Howard's boomerang after it missed the first time. Jamie was about to fall, but Howard caught him. On the ground, Jamie blames himself for his father being absent from the parade, but Howard reveals himself. Myron was arrested, but Jamie gave him the doll for his son because he had the real Turbo Man at home. Howard was carried by the crowd and the movie ends. Thanks for watching US Movie Reruns. Subscribe for more movie recaps like this.